Welcome to the Wellness and Wahala podcast. This is a podcast for wellness and Wahala warriors who are a winner, world changer, wise, and winsome. They are dedicated to tackling Wahala, which means issues and problems in Nigerian pidgin for the good of humanity. Our tribe of subject matter experts in our village are a voice to the voiceless. Like you know, the African proverb, it says it takes a village. So we have a tribe of supporters that we will be interviewing on our show. Oya, join me, the former diplomat and public health advisor, Dr. Kunle Adeyanju, better known as Omo Oba, as I give you the best public health and wellness and Wahala gist with wonderful people and guests, my VIPs, using their compassion to take action to put us on a pathway to a Wahala-free life. Bless up. Hi, welcome to the Linkway Diplomat Hour show. My name is Dr. Kunle Adeyanju. I'm best known for the Wellness and Wahala podcast and also NIDO Radio, Nigerian and Diaspora Radio, South Savannah. And today I have my wonderful co-host Daisy here. Over to you to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Daisy and I'm a Georgia educator.
Thank you for all of our great educators in the house. What grade do you teach?
Middle school.
One of the hardest. That's
tell me about it.
Middle school in Africa, that's secondary school.
Yes.
Okay. So it is great to have you today for Linkway Diplomats Hour as we launch today. And we have a very special guest, y'all.
Yay.
His name is Mr. Kunle Adeyanju. Most of you might know him from the guy that rode his motorbike, y'all, from London to Lagos. You hear me, yo? From London, United Kingdom to Lagos, Nigeria. And he did that in under, I think, 40-something days. So, in under 2 months. So, exactly. So, in how many days?
4.
41 days, y'all. So,
41 days.
Jesus was in the wilderness for like 40 days. So,
Close.
41 days is no easy. So, he rode through multiple countries and nations all the way from London to Lagos. So, no better person to introduce him and his background but him. It is so great to have him here. Thank you for tuning in. Very late hours in Nigeria. So over to you, Sa, to give our guests just a brief bio summary. We'll be here all day if we read your full profile. But over to you, Mr. Kunle.
All right. Thank you for having me. As the host introduced me, my name is Kunle Adeyanju. I'm a motivational speaker, an author, an adventurer, and an entrepreneur. Like you said, I just did the London to Lagos motorbike ride for charity to support end polio in Africa and indeed world over, and also to raise funds, for the initiative. I mentor a lot of young graduates, people in their mid-career days, people just leaving school, how to better maximize their life potentials to live a fulfilling life. I've been in the corporate sector in Nigeria for the last 25 years. I've worked for multinationals like British American Tobacco and Shell Petroleum Development Company. And that's Shell Petroleum you have there, Shell Oil, which you have in America. So I spent the better part of my career working for Shell. That's in the upstream sector. And finally left Shell 2019 to set up my own business, which is what I do now.
Great. So I wanted to at least kick off our interview by asking you, what really touched you to go into the humanitarian sector and want to, raise funds. I see that you're wearing a Rotary End Polio Now t-shirt. I'm also a Rotarian. I actually did my doctorate in public health dissertation on polio eradication in Nigeria. At that time, there was only 4 countries, as you know, that had polio, and I used to call them the pain countries because it caused me a lot of pain that every other country eradicated it, except, of course, our country. So P was for Pakistan, A for Afghanistan, I for India, and N for Nigeria. And Nigeria being the only African country. India has been able to end polio successfully, so it's only Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. And of course, you know about the insecurities in the northeastern part of Nigeria. And my dissertation was more about the public health workers, extension workers being killed going out to vaccinate children. As you know, as a student, we usually partner with churches, with schools, but we never really partner with the military of defense. And, you know, we have strong partnership with Rotary, but it'll be good, you know, to hear about, you know, your partnership with Rotary and about ending polio, and just give us, you know, a synopsis of why you said, okay, I'm going to take on this cause, you know, because we really consider you a Linkway hero of peace, but this was not an easy task, sir. So over to you.
All right, thank you. So I'm a Rotarian, just like you, a Rotarian too, and I'm sure you know a little bit about Rotary. Well, I'm still going to talk more about that. Rotary has actually been at the forefront of the fight in eradicating polio in the world. You know, Rotary as an organization has contributed $2.4 billion to date towards eradicating polio. And every year, Rotary International immunizes 500 million children across the world, all towards ending polio. The strong effort of everyone around the world, the funding from Rotary International, also the support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You know, they have this funding partnership with Rotary, which we call the 2-to-1 matching grants, which means for every $1 Rotary International raises, or any member of Rotary raises into the Rotary International Conference, Bill and Melinda Gates matches it with $2. So that means $1 that you raise can become $3. And a vaccine is 50 cents. So technically speaking, if you raise $1, you can actually immunize 6 children. You know, so that's been the funding partnership and how it has been. The good news is, with all these concerted efforts, in 2019, Nigeria became polio-free after not recording any polio cases in the last 3 years before then. So Nigeria was certified polio-free. And when Nigeria got that certification, Africa became polio-free. Now, so that's a good news for us.
Yes.
But the problem, the bad news now,
the bad news.
Exactly. The bad news we're having cases of polio resurgence in some part of Africa.
Exactly.
Malawi, like 4 months ago, recorded a case of polio in Malawi. Yes, it was not genetically traced to Malawi, but it was like those ones discovered to have been imported. You know, just like COVID, this virus goes everywhere as long as people move. Sadly, also, the nation of Côte d'Ivoire had their National Immunization Day on the 16th of June, between 16th and 19th of June. They declared a 3-day National Immunization Day for polio eradication, which they did. As we speak, the nation of Togo is actually running through an immunization drive too, because they discovered some cases there. And why do we have this resurgence? It is because when Africa became certified polio-free, we became complacent. And we thought because we are polio-free, the virus is no longer here. Yeah. But the fact is the virus wasn't manifesting in the children because of the immunization work we've all done in the past. So when we got the certification and everybody relaxed, you know, so the instead of children coming into the world that were not being covered by the immunization started experiencing the virus again. So my going to do this adventure ride from London to Lagos to draw awareness, to wake everyone from our slumber, to tell us that the fact that we are polio certified free doesn't mean that we are free from the virus. We have been free because of the immunization that we've done. If we don't go back with that same hyper drive on the immunization, the problem will resurge. Exactly. And that was why I took on that challenge upon myself, to create the awareness, to wake everybody up so we can go back to working the way we work to eradicate polio in Africa, and also to raise funds, you know, to support this initiative.
Thank you, sir. So that is a great leeway to my next question about challenges. But I also wanted to interject, and also my co-host, please, you know, chime in. You know, you talked about the power of partnership, you know, with Rotary, with Bill Gates, you know, Foundation. There's a partnership also with educators. A lot of people became complacent. I was very happy when we were certified polio-free. But as you know, with public health and with vaccine preventable diseases, we need to continue, to do our immunization campaigns. And it really takes a lot of partnership. I tell people, I said, the power of partnership, people coming together to really strengthen our public health system. We cannot do it without partnership, both in the public and private sector. So even like educators play a very big role in educating, the guardians, the parents, the students about the importance of routine immunization that should continue to happen, whether, we're certified polio-free or not. There is so many vaccine preventable illnesses that people should not be dying of. And that's one of the reasons why I got into public health, because my mom's brother died of TB, tuberculosis, which is a preventable disease. So over to you, my co-host, Ms. Daisy, to chime in on some of these challenges and partnerships as our host talked about today.
So in the American school system, it is required to, get some shots, the immunization, before you even enroll into the school system. But unfortunately, we don't have that in the Nigerian school system. So, but like you said, educators have the, the power. They have the opportunity to educate parents and say, even if the school doesn't require it, it's important because this thing is creeping back in. Like you all said, we were celebrating, we're polio-free. But now it's coming back, it's being imported. I think that was the word you used. Yes. It's been imported. So it's not genetic this time, but it's been imported just like COVID that was imported and was widespread. So before it becomes widespread, I would suggest that educators should inform parents, educate parents to get these vaccinations, to get these immunizations, so that, like you said, unnecessary deaths, a preventable death, so that we can prevent such, diseases and deaths from happening.
Thank you for that. And that gets me to my next question, Sa, is, you rode all the way from London to Lagos. That's very, very, very courageous. And I know that you probably felt, you probably went through some challenges along the way, and of course, how did you stay persistent? How were you assertive to say, okay, I'm not going to give up? There's times where I'm sure, you probably get hungry on the way. You probably get thirsty. You probably might even encounter some danger because nobody has did that type of plight. So you're really a trailblazer. It's one thing to be able to say, okay, I'm going to fight for a cause and I'm going to do what everybody else want to do. But you said, look, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to use my gift of being a bike rider. You had a very comfortable career. You said you worked in the shell section and, in the upstream. You didn't really have to do this. You could have stayed back at home in your comfort zone and then just enjoy your retirement like everybody else. They'll be saying, Mr. Kunle, what's happened? Do you understand, Adeyanju? That you want to put yourself in danger. You know our people now. Let's be real. Wahala Otipoju, they go from London to Lagos on the road. Why? Sheila, you want to kill yourself. You understand? You know our people. So, what really motivates you? Because you went through some challenges. So, can you speak on some of that? The challenges for those 41 days. That is not.
Because for me, it's normal because I can't expect to cover 12,000 kilometers and not go through pain. Life doesn't work like that. The total distance from London to Lagos was about 12,000 kilos. I did 3,100 kilometers from London to Algeciras. That's the boundary of Europe, where I crossed the Mediterranean Sea by ferry into Tangier in Morocco. Then from Morocco down to Lagos, going through Mauritania, Senegal, Mali, and stuff like that. I did about 9,000 kilometers. And the 3,100 kilometers in Europe also has its own challenges. We might think probably maybe because it's in Europe and everything is easy. No, but I had to contend with freezing temperatures, sub-zero temperatures. And you can imagine riding your bike in sub-zero temperatures. Yes. Number two, there were actually very strong crosswinds that keep blowing you off the bike. So it's a lot of work to steady the bike while doing the ride. Then also the other most important, very challenging danger was the issue of black ice. Because of the sub-zero temperature, ice forms on the road.
Yes.
And
very
it becomes very
dangerous.
slippery. You make a simple mistake, you go down.
Yes.
So that was that challenge in Europe. Going into Africa, it was a totally different challenge. It's much tougher than Europe. Because, going through the heat there, if you're going through Sahara, the Sahara is it's an unfriendly place. It doesn't cooperate with you. It's not there to support life. It's not your friend. And the margin for error on the Sahara is so steep. Because you make some silly mistake or you make a mistake on Sahara, it may be difficult to go back home. So because of all these challenges there on the Sahara, but at the same time, one beautiful thing I learned in Africa was the 9,000 kilometers in Africa was filled with so much more challenges than in Europe. But that was also the most beautiful experience I had on the ride. The 9,000 kilometers in Africa took me through, the cities, the towns, the villages, the lonely places, the isolated places where I was alone even for like almost half a whole day that I saw no one. But again, when you get tested, when you get stretched, that's when the better part of you comes out. Those are what I experienced on the way. And I discovered, during my ride, that Africa is indeed a beautiful country. It's a blessed continent. I discovered the hospitality of the African people firsthand. And Africa is a land of diversity. Everywhere you go, there's something exciting to learn, something to discover, something to learn. You don't just get all these aha and wow moments all the time. I was on the African side, African continent, riding through. So for me, it was tough, yes, but it was also the most beautiful experience. Particularly the story of the African people, the discovery of the true African story. Because before embarking on this ride, right, I did a lot of. It took me a year to plan the ride, actually. A whole year of devoting 3 hours of every day of that 1 year to build up my plan. And, I had to do a lot of reading about all the countries. All the available things I could get, I read about all the countries I was going to pass through. And everything I read pointed to the fact that almost all these places I was going to pass through are dangerous places. They are red zones. Places you should avoid and don't even go there. So it was... the ride was filled with apprehension when I got into Africa because of all the dangers I read about all these routes. But I still went in. I made up my mind. I want to go there. I want to find it. Okay, if it's there, how do I mitigate all the risks? Then I put in all those mitigation measures. Then I went in. But when I got there, I discovered a totally different story. It's not as bad as it was painted in the papers, in the media. It wasn't. The people are nice. The people are friendly. Places where I read that they're going to kidnap you, they're going to kill you, they're going to attack you. These are places where people come out to give me water, to give me mango. These are places where people come to, can we take pictures with you? Can we do this? Those are the kind of reception I got from those people. So this actually opened my eyes to the real African story. And I realized that a lot of the media has actually made us to become afraid of each other.
Exactly.
Before going there, I was filled with apprehension about these countries. But when I got there and I discovered a totally different thing, and I realized that the story I read about this wasn't true, wasn't correct. So for me, when people ask me, what is my most important takeout from this adventure? And I say to everyone, loud and clear, the discovery of the true African story, the hospitality of the African people, the diversity of the continent, their warmth, their friendliness, and their generosity. I had an issue in Mali. I ran into a ditch because the visibility, the road was bad. There were a lot of potholes there. And a truck swerved into my lane, and I'm trying to avoid impacting the truck. I swerved onto the road shoulder, and I ran into a big ditch. And that damaged the rear wheel of my bike.
Yes.
And that happened in a game reserve where there are lions, there are hyena, there are cheetah.
Hey.
And I became stranded. I became a sitting duck there, and it was in the night. So that was, for me, the most troubling moment on that ride because, you know, like the animals, they have like night vision. They can see you at night.
They can see you. You can't
yeah,
see
but
them,
you
but
can't
they can
see
see
them.
you.
And by the time you see them, it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, when that incident happened to me, it was that darkness. And, you know, the next thing, your survival instinct just kicks in. You don't even have time to think. The next thing was just to jump off the bike, and I said to myself, I need to find a way to put a height between me and any animal that may want to attack me. And I started running, looking for a tree to climb. Finally, I got one, and I jumped into the tree. I'm sure I've never climbed a tree that fast in my life. You know, I jumped, I climbed the tree, and I was at the top of the tree. Now, okay, yeah, I can think of what to do now. Then, as I was thinking of my next move, I saw a ray of light like 400 meters away. Then I said, okay, that's where I need to get to. Then I had to stay on the tree for like 5 minutes, just trying to, you know, remain quiet, you know, even stealing my breath so I can hear whether an animal has come around there.
Wow.
You know, they are very stealthy in their behavior too.
They're very smart, yeah.
Yeah, so after like 5 minutes, I didn't hear anything. I know, okay, it was safe. Then I jumped down and I ran here and everything, with my helmet and everything. I ran into the village. When I got into the village, the pace I was running, you know, was so high, and I just bumped into them. And the next thing they did too, they started running. You know,
they don't know what's going on. What you running?
They know where you're running from.
Then I had to call them back to say, sorry, please, wait. Then they came back to me and they saw the way I was dressed. The woman said, oh, just take off your helmet for the way I was panting. Instead of them, I don't speak them. They were speaking French. I don't speak French.
Yep. I was about to ask the language. Yes, I was about to ask that same question.
And I don't speak the local dialect. So, but when they saw the way I was dressed, the way I was panting, even before asking me any question, the women in the village they brought a chair for me. They said, sit down first. Before you see anything, sit down. Then I sat down. They brought water for me. They said, drink. Then I drank water. They brought another one in a bowl. Can you wash your face? I washed my face. They've not even asked me anything that happened.
Yes.
Then so when I wanted to talk, they said, no, calm down. So when my breathing came back to normal, they asked me what happened. Then they had a bike in the village. So I used the bike to explain what happened to them, you know, with sign language.
Yes.
And when I explained everything that happened, so the men there gathered themselves together. There were 4 of them. Then they carried cutlasses and with clubs and with sticks, and they said we should go. You know, they were pointing to me that we should go. And I was just wondering, why are you carrying stick and cutlass and asking me to go?
Because they don't get the lion.
they came back to me in sign language and they said, like, what if like a lion comes to us? How do we do that?
Right.
So just to tell you how dangerous where that thing happened to me, it was in a park. These people followed me to recover my bike.
Oh, wow.
Yes, on the way, I got network connection. So I called my interpreter that I left at the border like 30 kilometers back to rent a car and come rescue me from the village. It took the interpreter like 2.5 hours to get there.
Oh, wow.
The incident happened about like 9 p.m. And the interpreter got there like about 1:30 a.m. in the morning.
Hey.
And the most shocking thing for me, pleasant surprise for me was, for those 3.5 hours, you know, the time when people are supposed to be sleeping, all the women and the men in those villages, they didn't leave me alone. They stood with me. They comforted me. I didn't feel alone. They didn't make me feel alone. The women there asked me that they were going to make food for me to eat while we were waiting for my interpreter. And I told, because, you know, you can't eat. You know, the appetite wasn't there. I just want to, you know, like, with all the challenges that I was going through, food wasn't my problem then. I was hungry, but no, food wasn't really in my
list of your problems.
Yeah, so I told them, no, I couldn't eat. But these people genuinely, you know, helped me. People that I don't know. And these are people, they wrote about in the papers that if you run into a problem or you come across them, you are probably going to be killed. They are going to rob you. They are going to kill you. They are this, they are that. But these are the same people that showed me the most humanity.
Yeah.
I left the bike. My interpreter came about 1:30 a.m. I left them. Then I went to the city to spend the night. The following morning, we came with a truck to recover my bike. I tell you, everything I left on my bike was still there. They didn't pick anything. To me, that is humanity at its best.
Yes. Yes.
And these are people the media wanted me to be afraid of in the first place. So when I said to people that for me, the most high moment, the most important takeout for me on this trip was the discovery of the true African story. And that's exactly what summarizes my experience. And this was the same thing I experienced in most of all these countries that I go to. I don't have flat tire everywhere, but like Burkina Faso wasn't part of my plan. I removed Burkina Faso because, the danger painted around that country was too high.
Oh my God, and it's a beautiful country.
I was going into Burkina Faso. But when I was at first denied entry into Cote d'Ivoire due to the Blackwatch blockade of Mali, I went into Burkina Faso. And the country that was actually painted the most dangerous. Guess what I saw on the way? I will see hardworking farmers going to their field, waving me as I ride back. I will see hardworking, women who sell their fruits by the roadside. They will flag me down. They'll say, please, can we take pictures together? Then when I'm about to leave, they'll give me 2 mangoes from their stock to take for free. That's the generosity I experienced from all these people along the way.
Mr. Kunle, your story is very entertaining. You faced a lot of life-threatening events. Now, as you were talking, when you talked about your experience, what you read online, and when you actually went there in person, it didn't match. That they made it look scary, dangerous, but when you got there, the people were friendly, the people were welcoming. As I was thinking about that, I was just thinking, Africans, we need to tell our own stories. We need to, because other people are telling our stories, and they are telling wrong stories. They're not telling the truth. So we need, what I was thinking, 2 suggestions for you, Mr. Kunle. You need to write a documentary, make a documentary about the things that you experience. Tell people that Africa, people are welcoming. People are hospitable. People are friendly. People are nice. It's not as dangerous as they paint, all these African countries. So that was one. The second thing, when you talked about jumping on the tree, I was like, this sounds like a movie. We need to make a movie. We need to make a movie about your cycling from UK to Nigeria. That sounds like a movie that needs to be made. So think about that. Oh, see?
See, she's in the spirit.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
Lome Togo, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I took my bike.
Yeah.
That was last Friday, Upper Week Friday. And I just took my bag, took my passport, and I rode to the border. I crossed the Nigerian border into Benin Republic. Then I crossed Benin Republic into Lome, and I just went to the beach house. I had no issue. Africa is lovely. I spent a week in Lome. I rode back again yesterday, and I got home. I had no problem, no issue.
These are wonderful stories. I think I'm going to plan to go to Mali. Mali's.
You mentioned
Mali caught my attention.
Yes. But I also wanted to jump in on that note. So because I tell people that traveling is learning. As an educator, I always tell people, even my sister, she has a travel agency, even though she's a public health professional, but on the side. And I always tell people that traveling is learning. Excuse me, because, nobody can tell you a story better than you. And I think that's why she said that, firsthand story of you traveling, this could be a award-winning, like Netflix,
documentary. Yep.
Because many times when you talk about Africa, it's always in the negative side. And I tell people that I've been blessed, even in Nigeria, out of the 36 states, I probably have traveled to about 20 of the states. In West Africa, was in charge of Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. I've been to Ghana. I've been to, when you're talking about Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. I was stuck in Lome, Togo for a day. I've been to Dakar many times. And I'll tell people that, and they'll be shocked, and I tell people the experiences that I got was so beautiful, just like you said. But it's so important to tell our story. I lost my Popsy 7 years ago. And one of the things that helps keep his memory alive. It's like when I go into like the video recordings or pictures or phone recordings, having this type of interview is very important, this type of platform to tell your story. But I do really hope that you finish your book and you launch your book, and we're able to also re-interview you when you launch your book, but also doing a documentary,
Yep, very important.
Excuse me. I have bad allergies, so I know people will be like, this is pandemic season, so, but no, anybody can have allergies. But really, I think that your story is just very empowering, and I use the terminology Afro-optimist, because I've always been an Afro-optimist, and I see you as an Afro-optimist, an African that's very optimistic. Anytime, people tell the African story is a very depressive type of story, and it talks about the danger, but people don't understand that there's danger everywhere. There's danger in the UK, there's danger in the US, there's danger everywhere. It's really God that, protects us everywhere we go. However, when I look at all the places that I have traveled, from Dubai to UK to even living here in the US, the best place where I have felt the most hospitable and safe is in Africa. So whether it's in East Africa, in Kenya, Ethiopia, that I've traveled to, in South Africa, and I think you touched on it, my co-host, about the language barriers. I go into places, they speak French, they speak other languages, I have a translator, but there's a universal language of love, there's body language, if somebody comes to you, even before they talk, if they welcome you, you know what I'm saying? You don't even have to talk. But by their body language, you see how they ran to you. They're like, oh, sit down. They got a chair. Like, love is a universal language. So your story is very, very empowering. I'm happy that you said that you're in the process of finishing your book. I really pray that it will also launch into a documentary.
And a movie.
Right. And it will. And, we have great Nollywood actors. Like, these are, these are things that they will love to pick up, because you're not only telling the Nigerian story. Yes, you're Nigerian side, but you're telling the African story. You traveled all the way from the UK, and you said it. You traveled through other places in Europe, but the best experience was traveling through Africa. I went to Niger State, in Mina, and I saw the waterfalls. I never knew that we had beautiful waterfalls in Nigeria. These are things that you don't see in the books. You see what I'm saying? I saw it
online,
or online. Yeah. So it'll be really great to not only see your book and the pictures and let your stories, pictures make your stories come to life. But also, I really, really salute you, Sa, on really being a hero, a true hero. Because this, once again, is not an easy task. Even traveling by car, if you look at the statistic, is very dangerous. Traveling by air is very dangerous. And traveling by bike, like, you put the danger like 3 times. So it was extra dangerous.
Yep.
That's true.
And you were able to really, God was really with you. So I really thank you for that. And then I wanted to go to my next question that says, how have you been able to really reach people with this, your message, of your trip? Is one thing to be able to accomplish this, but what are the...
How are people receiving?
How will people receive it? And what is your key, action, call to action to people, Because I always say it's good, for people to hear your story, but what would be your call to action to everybody, especially Africans, to really be, one, inspiring, empowering, courageous, and really, go above and beyond to tell their own story? Over to you, Sa.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to my call to action for people, let me just give you the reception of people of Africa, and generally people, even in Europe, all along the route for my ride. What I noticed is, because I designed a flag prior to the ride, because I looked at it that, okay, I'm going to use this ride to communicate a stronger message. And I said to myself, I'm not just going to fly the Rotary flag, the end polio flag that I wanted to, the message I'm passing across. Because once people see that, people, you get used to one image easily. And once you get used to it, it doesn't really resonate with you much afterwards. But when you have multiple images, it makes your brain hold on to that object for much longer periods of time. So I put in my country flag, the Nigerian flag first. I designed a 3-flag-in-1, the Nigerian flag at the top, because I'm able to do what I'm doing, because at first I'm a Nigerian. I come in from the country. Yeah. So the Nigerian flag first, then the Rotary and polio banner second, then Imagine Rotary third. So having these 3 banner in one, and I flew this on my bike all through the ride. So it communicated so much message to people. The messages were strong. And whenever people see me, the first thing they want to ask me is, what is this all about? Yeah, I can see Nigeria, I can see polio, I can see Rotary. What linked these 3 things together, these 3 issues together? And, it opened room for conversation. And so many people who flagged me down, please, can we take pictures with you? Yes, I expected people are going to flag me down. But the point is, I never expected they to flag me down that much, because at some point on a daily basis, I get flagged down like 50 times. And I keep saying to myself, if I keep stopping at this rate, it may be difficult to get to my destination, on time. So, I can rest, have enough rest to recover for the next day ride. But it was a service I chose to take, so I can't complain. So what I do is, whenever they flag me down, I try to, speed up the conversation a little bit, take the picture, then proceed. So people love the message. And I realize that people love Nigeria along the line.
They do.
All along the way, people, I love Nigeria, I love Nigeria. That's the messages I keep getting. Now, let me give you, again, how the level of impact of this message. When I got into Burkina Faso, I like to use Burkina Faso example because it's a country I didn't want to go to in the first place. I removed Burkina Faso from my roots because of how, the danger they painted about the country in the papers. So it was a bit scary, then. I removed it, but I only went in there when I was at first denied entry into Cote d'Ivoire. So when I got into Burkina Faso and they took me to Bobo Dioulasso, the Grand Mosque in Bobo Dioulasso. Bobo Dioulasso is the second biggest city in Burkina Faso, the economic capital. So I went to Bobo Dioulasso and I went to the Grand Mosque and I was introduced to the chief imam of the Grand Mosque. That's the oldest mosque in Burkina Faso. And when the chief imam, we spoke by an interpreter, and I told him my mission. And he just told me to hold on, that I shouldn't start the presentation first. Then he called all his subjects, and they went to call all their wives. And before you know it, we had a gathering of about 300 women seated there. And I had, one of the most engaging moments of that ride in Burkina Faso, because it wasn't a one-way conversation. Yes, I did my presentation, and the chief imam actually gave the women the liberty that, please, everybody, ask your question. We need to stop polio in Africa. And I couldn't believe the kind of question I was getting from the women. They may be illiterate, but they are very intelligent. Very intelligent. Some of them, they put me on my toes with the kind of question I was hearing from those people. But I like this. So that's to tell you, okay, look at, contacting 300 women in one sitting. Look at the ripple effect. They are going to talk to their friends, who are likely going to talk to their friends again. Some of them brought their children,
word of mouth,
who are like maybe 5 or 10. They're going to share this news with their friends too. So you can see how well that message is spreading. So, and this event like this happened twice when I was in Burkina Faso. So the extent and the reception of the message was so encouraging. I didn't even expect it was going to be this successful when I started it. But when I saw the magnitude of the stuff, the messages has taken, the communication has taken, it was, like a very good thing for me. I felt happy about it. Now, if you're asking, what is the takeout I want people to do from this? What is the call to action? We need to take the vaccine. That's it. We have to take the vaccine. That's the only way. Because we have the technology, we have the vaccine, we can end the virus. And the vaccine is free because people like me that have gone to raise funds for the charity, for the End Polio cause, and it's been supported with matching grant for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So the vaccine is coming free to everyone. So what we need to do is, okay, the other 5 weeks for me, the most important part of this, my message was to break down the issue of vaccine hesitancy, so that people can accept the vaccine. And you can imagine, that's why I was so excited with the Burkina Faso story. Imagine the 300 women talking to other women. Even if one woman talked to another woman, that's about 600 women. That's a huge number in the community. Yes. So you can see if we can remove the issue of vaccine hesitancy from about 600 women, it's like we've started the problem in almost all of Bobo Dioulasso in Burkina Faso. So call to action is we are the awareness campaign took a global dimension, which I didn't envisage, but I'm happy it did that. So yes, call to action. Let's keep spreading the message. We need to get people to take the vaccine. That is my call to action.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kunle. We need to hear more about how you're spreading this news and how people are receiving it and what they need to know. But I will have to take like a 2-minute commercial break, and we'll be back.
Thanks for staying with us. To complement government's efforts at providing portable drinking water, a United States-based non-governmental organization has provided a borehole to address the water challenge being faced by the Zangie community in Nasarawa State. Agatha Joseph Obioha reports.
Water, they said, is life. This is the river where the gay community access their drinking water. Residents of this community, located in Kari local government area of Nasarawa State, are predominantly farmers and lack access to potable drinking water for decades before Linkway Africa came to their aid.
Our passion is to meet the critical needs of the needy communities.
Our vision is to provide water support, education support, and then health support and food support.
And it's this community that is benefiting for the first time from within the African region.
The community, who could not hide their joy, expressed gratitude to the donors and pledged to make proper use of the facility.
Yes, sir, I'm happy with them. The thing that we are doing for this village, for the village of Zangie, we are happy with them.
Well, we have been suffering for water for so long, which is by sometimes we don't have water able to take our bath, no water to take bath. But for today, we are very, very happy for that.
Before they suffer, what they drink this river water, what they go, disease everywhere.
Linkway Africa Outreach Ministry is a faith-based non-governmental organization which was incorporated in 2010 to care for people and communities in need. From Kefi, Agatha Joseph Obioha, NTA News.
Not just the building, but highly equipped with great infrastructure, because our aim and our goal is to be a world-class healthcare provider using cutting-edge technology.
Being a part of Dida Hospital has inspired me to keep walking the line and remaining strong in my values.
It's our joy to see baby being delivered, whether premature or time, because the mother, the joy that it after being discharged.
This would not have been possible if our patient did not believe in our ability.
We do virtually all kinds of clinical investigations and use all forms of diagnostic method.
Quality healthcare is what we do. Quality service is what we deliver.
And here, caring for our patients means we feel what they feel.
Being rewarded with the content smiles of happy clients is my perfect DDAC story.
Welcome again to Linkway Diplomats show, and we have our special guest, Kunle Adeyanju, the famous honorable guest that rode his bike from London to Lagos. So we've been having great gist. He's been telling us about his motivation on this project and, his passion for polio eradication and the challenges that he faced along the way, riding, in Europe and then throughout Africa, but also, a lot of the great things that, he never thought that he would experience. Reading, about many of the African countries, especially, he heard about all of the dangers, but really being on the road, it was a total opposite. When he was in danger, even there was a time his bike, got messed up in a place where they have, a reserve of like lions, tigers, and bears, and the villagers came to rescue him. It was a place where they speak French. It was a francophone African country, and even in Burkina Faso, exactly Burkina Faso, that he was trying to avoid. God always likes to redirect your path. He wasn't able to go to Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and he now diverted to Burkina Faso, and he had a wonderful experience. He was able to meet with hundreds of women there, and in polio eradication, as I said, I did my dissertation on polio eradication in Nigeria. Women are powerful, and what people don't know, it's not like regular vaccines, which are intravenous. Polio vaccine is not by needle; it's by drops in the mouth. It's like you taking Panadol, as they say in Africa, or Tylenol. It's actually you can actually train those women, those caregivers. We call them in Nigeria, the Ministry of Health people. They don't have to be nurses. We have CHUs, which are community health extension workers. You train them. But the thing is, these polio vaccines are cold chain. So that's another question that I want to talk to you about rolling out these vaccines in very rural areas. I've been to polio immunization campaigns, and like Bill Gates, they donate, and the U.S. government, CDC, they donated like coolers. They had to donate freeze packs because these are cold chains. So when I say cold chain vaccines, you have to keep them cold in a certain temperature. You know about our electricity problem. So sometimes when we travel to a village and we're at a primary health center, they don't have lights. So we have to buy petrol for their generator so they can keep the vaccines cold in the fridge all night. So, Sai, can you also talk about some of those specific challenges? Because the thing is, if it drops below that, and we've had problems with that, where they had light issue, those vaccines were not going to be able to be effective because they didn't have access to light. In my polio immunization campaigns, I'll tell you a story that, and I think it was really because I was Nigerian American that I was able to solve the problem, and I was very embarrassed. Nigeria is supposed to be known as the giant of Africa, and that's why when you travel throughout all those African nations, they really, really respect Nigeria. We are, not only the most populated Black African nation in the world, we have so many, Nobel Peace Prize laureates. We have so many engineers, Nobel doctors, teachers, physicians, public and private sector, government officials, all over the world. However, I was quite disappointed because in the immunization campaign I won't mention the state of Nigeria where I was at, but the government there, I reported it to the Minister of Health, the permanent secretary, and they were extremely corrupt. So the Minister of Health and the permanent sec, as you said, it's Rotary Club has been on the forefront. U.S. government, Bill Gates, they donate all of this stuff. The only thing that we asked the Nigerian government to donate was the malaria bed nest as an incentive. So when people come out and they bring their children to get vaccinated, or they come to the schools, we can give the free bed nets to the teachers. We can give the free bed nets to everybody that come out. So it's like a two-pronged approach. So we're tackling We're tackling malaria prevention, and we're tackling polio. Unfortunately, for years, the malaria bed net always came up missing. Oh. So because, I don't speak Yoruba, but my boy Yoruba, dada, but me also, Yoruba. So because I was born and raised here, my parents made sure that I understood Yoruba. So I was in this place, I was in the Yoruba states, and I was able to talk to my driver. That's why I said that you have to respect everybody. So I'm bringing this full circle. Don't look down on anybody because, they're illiterate or you go to the village or whatever. Everybody is important. And I talk to people at that level. The same way I will respect the U.S. ambassador or the minister of health is the same way I'm going to respect my driver. So I now talk to the driver and I said, what's happened? Why every year this malaria net always disappear? He said, madam, you want me to tell you the truth? So he now said, do you understand Yoruba? I said, my boy Yoruba. He now started saying that the Minister of Health and the Permanent Secretary, they actually have their own private pharmacy. They take those bed nets and they go and sell it. So I now said, okay. I said, can you tell me where that pharmacy is located? And then he now said that he also, they hide the bed nets in the storeroom in one of the primary health center. So I was able to talk to the security men at the primary health center. They broke into that thing. And when we opened the door, the bed nets were full from the bottom to the top. So I reported it to my ogas in Abuja. Of course, U.S. government. They're like, told me you don't want to get in trouble. And I said, don't worry. That I know how to protect myself. So it was a very, very courageous thing because, of course, they can come after me, but I wasn't afraid because at the end of the day, I'm like, these are malaria nets that's supposed to go to children to saving lives, and you're going to still. And then I said you didn't pay for any of the things: the vaccine, the coolers, the generators, the fridge. So there's a lot more challenges that are not talked about, like our infrastructure challenges. That should not be a case. We supply Ghana and other countries that have lights. It's a shame, sir. Even when I was in Burkina Faso, one of the poorest countries that I have actually visited in Africa, they had constant electricity. The light never blinked for those 2 weeks that I was there, sir. So can you talk about those infrastructure challenges? I know some people have vaccine hesitancy. They might say, okay, this vaccine is from Europe, the Oimbo people. How do we know they're, not trying to poison us? Or I've heard some things like, severe side effects and other things. And I tell those people, I said, look, I have taken the polio vaccine. When you talk to somebody and you make it personal, say, look, I have taken the polio vaccine. I have given my daughter the polio vaccine. I'm not going to tell you to take something that I personally, do you understand, cannot vouch for. So can you talk about, it's just sad that, I'm happy that Rotary and Bill Gates and everything, but it shouldn't say, because Nigeria is a very rich country. You said that when you work for the oil company, the oil sectors, we have people like, Aliko Dangote, the Mount Kilimanjaro guys, the billionaires of Africa that are in Nigeria. So why can't they fix those type of infrastructure? What is your call to action to them, sir? Over to you. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but I have to keep it.
One man against the country.
Let me just say something about a little comment about the corruption aspect you talked about.
Thank you.
I have been opportune to have visited over 75 countries around the world.
Yes.
Okay.
75.
75.
See.
That's even before this right. And I can tell you, corruption exists everywhere. The only thing is it exists in different shapes and sizes. In the recent times, during the COVID, I'm sure you heard about what happened in Brazil with the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
It's everywhere, yes.
So it happens everywhere. Even in the United States where you are, I'm sure you remember Benny Madoff. You remember Alan Stanford.
So many scandals, even now.
Benny Madoff, well, it's late now. This was the guy that was chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. So corruption happens everywhere. Right. So, maybe the one you saw with the net is still corruption, but maybe wicked. But I can tell you, those other ones too are wicked because if we talked about, we look at what happened in Afghanistan recently when the United States pulled out. And everybody will say, why will the U.S. government pull out of Afghanistan and leave $90 billion worth of equipment there?
Military equipment, exactly.
So it takes a lot of questions. Some people will tell you it's also corruption. So there's corruption everywhere. So I'm not going to talk about corruption because it happens everywhere. Okay? But let's look at those things you and I can fix, where we can address. Now, the point is, as a Rotarian, what we do to ourselves is every member of the Rotary Club, we are 1.2 million people around the world. We all contribute $40 every year. Sorry, $100 every year to Polio Plus Foundation. So that's where the money comes in. So when we contribute that $100 every year to Polio Plus Foundation, part of it goes into providing the funding for the vaccine. The other part goes into all those logistics arrangements. You see all those volunteers that we have.
Yes.
They get paid stipend. I was in Côte d'Ivoire during this ride, and okay, I told the ride took me 41 days. Actually, it took 14 days actual riding. For 41 days, because World Health Organization came in at some point, the Minister of Health came in at some point, and Rotary, the program got broadened. So any country I get into, I had to go to the World Health Office, I had to go to UNICEF, I had to go to the Ministry of Health. I need to go to the field with the Polio Plus volunteers. They get paid some stipend. Those stipend they get paid comes from contribution of Rotarian like myself and yourself. Yes. Also, the World Health Organization country chair in Côte d'Ivoire actually confirmed to me, he told us how important the partnership between World Health and Rotary, that all the staff they had on the Polio Plus desk unit in World Health is being paid for. Their salaries are being paid for by Rotary. So you can begin to see a lot of all those things we are doing. Yes, I know there are big problems here and there with what needs to happen in the country. But let's focus on those ones we can keep. And if we look at the electricity case in Nigeria, if you ask me, it's sad. Because I went, like you, I passed through countries that had nothing close compared to what Nigeria has. And their power didn't blink when I was there.
That's all.
It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. But at the same time, again, it comes for people like you and I. We need to ask ourselves, government cannot solve the problem. It's a business opportunity for people like me and you to come and invest in that sector.
Yes.
And see how we can, because it is the public sector that develops a country. It's not the government. Yes, government can build infrastructure. If you look at Elon Musk, that is transforming the whole of the automobile company.
Tesla electric car, yeah.
And the space. It's not the government, U.S. government employee. But he's working on some of this infrastructure that's been built by the U.S. government. So it's a challenge to people like us, people like me, like you, that, it's a business opportunity we can come invest in. And for me, it's something seriously I'm looking into in Nigeria. So, yes, those challenges are there. But, people are still surviving under very difficult condition. Under very difficult condition, I must say that. Because I'm home now talking to you. My generator has been on for the last 3 hours.
That's what I wanted to tell you. I know. So you're laughing on that, but many people cannot afford to be able to fund their generator that long. So that's a big step. And then of course the prices of petrol has went up, all over the world, even here. So I don't want us to overlook those major challenges. So your dedication, despite all of those challenges, are very empowering. And I like that you said, okay, change start with us. All of us are change agents. We are blessed to use our time, our talent, and treasure to be able to use the gifts that God has given us, whichever sector you work in, to make a difference. However, I know you talked about the private sector and their influence. However, also working at the government side, I see 2 points. Both public and private sector have a very key role to play. And you can't have one without the other. So I'll give you a good example. Nigerian elections is coming up next year. We in the diaspora contribute over $30 billion to the fiscal year budget. That's the money that we send overseas to our people. But we do not have diaspora voting. We've been trying, and I've been one of the people through the Nigerian Diaspora Organization. had an online petition. I know we have a NIDCOM agency back in Nigeria. You know, they've been advocating to some leaders. When we presented the bill, so I tell people, if we don't have a government that creates that enabling environment for you to invest, for diasporans to come and say, okay, you know, I'm an engineer. I can bring in my company, my team, you know, that is registered in Nigeria, that's registered in the U.S., and I can bring in Nigerian Americans to come and fix the problem. However, if there's no policies in place that are going to protect you, that's going to easily help you, you know, register your company, that's going to easily be able to help you, you know, fund, you know, across the entire value chain, then, you know, it's going to be very difficult. And if we, and it comes to, you know, being able to affect those policies, if we don't have a voting rights, it's very hard to say, okay, that I'm going to be able to affect those policies. And only 29 people in the House of Assembly voted yes. The remainder, you know, 80 something, you know, voted against it. So they know the power that the diaspora has. And I really feel that this is the time where, you know, we have the Nehemiahs, we have the people like you that have come and said, you know, let me take this bold chance. You could have been very comfortable and stayed in London, you know, and say, okay, I don't have to do this. But you said, look, I'm very passionate about this. And as I told you, you know,
today's interview, Dr. Tommy.
Thank you, Daisy. So I wanted you to talk more about, you know, the current challenges of people that already have polio. So I know that, you know, you talked earlier about prevention of polio and the vaccine being free and, you know, and the immunization campaigns that are easily accessible, available, and of course it's affordable because it's free. But they are people that already have polio, that are crippled. How can we help them? I know some of the solutions and innovations they have, like electric powered, you know, battery powered, solar powered wheelchairs. But what type of innovations and solutions can we give and hope to people that already have polio? Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the question is quite valid, you know, because we tend to do a lot and focus so much on prevention of polio, which is good, but with very little focus on people who already have polio. You know, and these people go through a lot of challenge because you see people still crawling on the streets.
Yeah.
But there are things that can be done for them. The electric wheelchair is there. All right? You know, this wheelchair, not so expensive. I think cost maybe about $800 or so. I've seen a couple of them. And these are actually, though there are other ones which are manual, but, you know, like if you really want to help somebody well. Yes. You know, so some of this electric wheelchair can be donated to people who are already suffering from the virus. And, you know, that will actually, you know, if you look at our way of life, how we are as human beings, we have our mind and we have the body. The body is the vehicle that carries the mind about. Your mind conceives what you want to do. Then the vehicle, which is your body, moves you about to implement those things, to help you implement those things your mind conceives. So when the body is limited, that is one way polio limits people. Even when they think, they can't really move about to implement those put those action put those thoughts into action. Now, if you give somebody an electric wheelchair, you know, to some extent, you have improved his mobility from the stage where he was crawling.
Yes.
So it's a way of actually moving them towards, you know, living a better, well, there's nothing like a better human being, but living a better life, because human being is human being. So giving them an electric wheelchair is a way of empowering them to further be able to annex their life potentials.
Yes.
So it's a key thing that can be done. It's an open avenue, open opportunity for service where people can donate into, people can come in to support this initiative and touch the lives of people. And I bet you when you give somebody a wheelchair, somebody who was crawling on the streets, a wheelchair, and can now move by himself and do some of those basic things by himself, you've taken him out of, you put some dignity in him, in how he can think, and also empower him to live, you know, like a dignified life.
Yes.
So that is a good call to action also for the people of diaspora and everybody listening to.
Yes.
The opportunity to help touch lives of people here.
Yes. And if people want it, so that brings me to my next question, finances. As you said, you use some of your personal finances. Rotary, of course, has donated people as members, donated $100 each, which we have thousands of members, very active members in Nigeria and all over the world. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, their financial grants and contribution. But here in the diaspora, how can people, can you walk us through, like if somebody wanted to reach you or reach your Rotary Club, you said that you also have, or make a donation, what is the process? Especially, I call for, our Nigerian diaspora organizations. There's so many. There's like Nigerian Teachers Association. There's Nigerian Nurses Association, Doctors Association. I'm part of Nigerian Diaspora Organization, South Savannah. So how can we even get some of those diaspora organizations to pledge and say, okay, we're going to pledge, to be able to raise funds for, let's say, 2-3 electric chairs. You said they cost about $800 each. And if this is, 100 organizations that pledge that, times 3, that's 3,000 already, 300, 3,000, it can get to millions of people that are affected, not just with polio that have been crippled by polio, but by, crippled by other preventable, diseases and illnesses. There's so many, things that people are affected by, but just starting with polio alone, how can people be able to reach you or reach Rotary clubs in Lagos that you're a part of and your organization, and how can people also donate? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's the beauty of Rotary. It's a global organization. And we have a website. My particular club, Rotary Club of Ikoyi Metro. Rotary Club of Ikoyi Metro. So once you put it on Google, it's going to bring out the club name. And the details are there. And I tell you, Rotary encourages, for Rotarian Rotary Club to actually partner with individuals like you, corporate organization, or other NGOs, like the Linkway. So to partner together and jointly execute a project. Just like you said, if you have, contact to like maybe 100 people who can give us 100 wheelchairs, and Rotary, we can use our own resources, our connection, to identify people who are going to benefit from this. And we can marry the two together. That is how, we partner in delivering our projects. So we are very open. Rotary Club is very open. We are eager, we are willing, and we are expecting that there will be a relationship here, how we can actually work together to touch lives of the less privileged, and how we can make life beautiful for some people around us.
Yes.
So it is open. Please remember, Rotary Club of Ikoyi Metro.
Ikoyi Metro, yes.
Rotary
Club of Ikoyi Metro and Linkway Diplomats will definitely be in partnership, and of course, we'll be in more discussion. This is just the start of a greater relationship. Over to you, David.
Just a quick question. So on your website, there's a link to click and make a donation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, on the club account is there where you can make a donation. And we're going to be putting in a GoFundMe link there too, where you can also make a donation on both platforms.
Okay. Yes. And for those in the diaspora, you can go directly to the Rotary Club page in Ikoyi Metro. But we also have our Linkway, www.Linkway Diplomats website, which is www.linkwaydiplomats.org, which we can also, accept donations and be able to partner and send over those donations to the Rotary Club that you are a member of. And we're also on PayPal here. So just having multiple ways, there's no excuse. We have PayPal, we have Cash App. If you see at the link, you search for Linkway Diplomats, even on Zelle, Linkway Diplomats, and we're able to track and say, okay, this is our contribution here in the diaspora to the Rotary Club partnership in Ikoyi Metro at Linkway Diplomats, we were able to raise this amount of funds. So once again, we have multiple ways where you can donate, and we thank our audience members in advance for donating to this important cause. Because once again, as Mr. Kunle Adeyanju said, it takes the power of partnership. All of us can make a difference, and all of us are change agents. And, $1 goes a long way. I believe the exchange rate now in Nigeria, $1 is about 600 and something naira. It's extreme. It can make a huge impact. So thank you so much for that. I know that, this has been a wonderful show. This is going to be one of many shows. We definitely want to have you back. Again, as I said, when you finish your book and you launch your book, and hopefully a documentary movie soon. But I wanted you to conclude on what are your last words to our audience members here in the diaspora and back at home. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. To the viewers in the diaspora world, my plea to you is Africa needs you. Africa needs your talents. Africa needs your skills. Africa needs your gifts. I'm not talking about your gift in terms of resources, your money, no. I'm a believer of teaching somebody how to fish rather than giving fish. Yes, I help people a lot with giving them money, but it's just that I believe in empowering people so that people can actually earn a decent living for themselves. There are opportunities to operate with Rotary clubs. There are opportunities to partner with a lot of other organizations, but Rotary is there at the forefront. Please come join us. Let's transfer those skills, those talents, those knowledges we've acquired over the years and push it into the African economy. And that's where we can bring a lot of people out of the poverty line and be able to make them, decent citizens, any decent living for themselves. So once again, my call to action for you people, my family in the diaspora world, Africa needs your talent, your skills. And there's opportunity where you can actually invest those in the life of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kunle. So after you've conquered, riding your bike from London to Lagos, or was it Lagos to London? Either way, what is next?
Well, for me, I want to finish the book. Once I finish the book, in the next 2 years, I'm going to be riding from Lagos to Israel, then from Israel to...
okay.
Nice.
Just passing through Israel, spending maybe like a week in Israel. And see
the Holy Land.
Spiritual experience. And I want to go to Tibet. And why Tibet is, that's the highest plain in the world. And everybody who's been to Tibet, who's written about Tibet, they will tell you God lives in Tibet.
Oh, okay.
They say God lived in Tibet because of the high level of purity you see about everything in Tibet. Oh. So I want to experience that purity. And when I do that, then I want to drop my bike and go climb Mount Everest.
So lots of dreams. Very nice.
That is great. The Holy Land, that's also on my bucket list. But we also want you to come to the U.S. too. You've been
when are you going to come visit us?
Traveling, from Lagos to London. When you go Lagos to LA or Lagos to ATL.
Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'll make it a point of duty to come see
Make
you.
Maybe I'll
ride it to you instead of flying it. Yeah.
Don't worry. Nigerians have enough private jet. You can get on their private jets, and then once you land, ride in, from the border. No problem. We're with you.
Oh boy.
But thank you so much for this wonderful interview. I can't wait to hear about your other next projects from Lagos to Israel.
Adventures.
You talked briefly about the spiritual aspects and your faith. And I know that, God really kept you strong and protected throughout your journey from London to Lagos, and will continue to protect you as you take on these ambitious projects of writing the book and, documentary and going into Israel. So thank you so much once again, and we look forward to have you in the future. Thank you to all of our audience members tuning in virtually from all over the world on YouTube, everywhere. Thank you to my co-hosts. Miss Daisy, and all of the people in the background, Mr. Dan Emmott, and our production crew. So thank you, God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and of course here in the United States of America. Amen. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you to the sponsor of my Wellness and Wahala podcast, Anchor. It's a great podcasting platform, and also NIDO Radio, Nigerians and Diaspora Organization Radio, 24/7 online radio, which also plays my Wellness and Wahala podcast show. So I'll leave you today with the song of the week. It's from Adeyanju and Linkway, a Christian song that says, okay, everything is going to be okay. Bless up.
My God, you're the one for me. You give me good, love me. Nothing can compare to this. Oh, God, you better see me. Oh, God, you better see me. Oh, God, Bami, oh, Bami. Bami, oh, Bami. Oh, no. Come along and let me jet. Oh, you better send us a come along and let me jet. Oh, you better send us a okay. Your love is more than okay. So my debt to your love, it's all this for sure. Your love is more than okay. Oh, Dara, you better see me. Oh, Dara, you better see me. Oh, Dara. Bami, oh, Bami. Bami, oh, Bami. Oh, na. Come along and let me jet. Oh, you better send us a come along and let me jet. Oh, you better send us a you check me like cha-cha-cha, just to hold me more cha-cha. I feel it's hot tenderly, I cannot even la-la. And it's okay. This love is more than okay. Okay, then just a lucky. How can I keep it lucky? The fairies in me all up to me. I never know I want to for you. Bami, oh, Bami. Bami, oh, Bami. Come along and let me jet. You better send us a come along and let me jet. You better send us a okay. Your love is more than okay. Okay.